Godellas to come to the front row, and I will join you there once I get done with my introduction. And it's my pleasure and honor today to give an introduction that I should have given a year ago, but we couldn't do it. President Dean Godellas, Constantine V. Godellas. What a precocious young man. I don't know if those are hands of a surgeon or hands of a boxer, but I love the picture. Energetic, he's ready to take on the world, talented and inquisitive. Dean was raised by his dad, William, and his mom, Elaine, both 100% Greek. William was an internist at the Gottlieb Medical Center and Hospital in Chicago. Born and raised, wonderful family. Mia, Basil, and our young president there in his dapper red sport coat. An amazing family. Their roots run deep. They know the priority of family, friendship, and sticking together, and they are loyal to each other and loyal to Chicago. This amazing thing, amazing story. March 2nd, 2002. I don't know if you remember the day, but Chicago got 8.5 inches that day. What was our president doing that day? Making the biggest decision of his life. It was a good one. He married his bride, Erin, at that time, March 2nd, 2002. Extraordinary couple. He's an extraordinary gentleman, but she is the better half of that couple. They have an amazing family, of which 75% of the kids are here. 25% are missing because they're trying to win national championships. But Dean and Erin have 4 wonderful children, and they've all been to Mackinac. And I dare say they are the history and backbone of the MSA at Mackinac Island, because they've never missed a meeting since Dean and Erin have been dating. They've kept us financially afloat, too, with all the rooms that they've had. Wonderful family, wonderful leader. And as a Greek background, a Chicago mentality, this is a little more rougher picture. But ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you, this guy is a class act. He's a hard worker. He's a fantastic surgeon. He's kind. He's caring. He's intelligent. He's the kind of person I want to be. Ladies and gentlemen, our president, Dr. Constantine Godellas.
TBD, to be determined? To be determined. As a young child, my life was determined. More importantly, I was determined to make it happen. My dad was a well-respected physician in our town, and from my earliest childhood memories, I wanted to be just like him, a private practicing internist practicing in my local community alongside my father. That early vision changed when I got to medical school, and I just couldn't find internal medicine all that interesting. I soon changed to surgery and figured I would just share office space with him when I was finished with my residency. After my second year of residency, I spent 2 years doing research with an amazing mentor and now lifelong friend, Dr. Jeff Fabry. Dr. Fabry is the smartest person I've ever met, and over the last 32 years, he has taught me numerous things. I began to realize that private practice surgery was not for me after all. Surgical oncology fellowship was next, and at this point I realized I really wanted to be an academic GI surgical oncologist. During this change in my career path, my home life was also radically changing. My mom, the picture of health and 15 years younger than my father, became sick. After a prolonged diagnostic workup, she was found to have advanced ovarian cancer. My dad's plan of marrying someone younger than him that would help take care of him, and my plan of having the most hip grandma ever were shattered when she passed away a few months before I finished my fellowship. Staying in New York was no longer on the table, and the job waiting for me back in Tampa became moot because I was headed back home to Chicago to be with my dad, my brother and his family, and my sister. I was fortunate to be hired by Dr. Richard Prinz, who is also the person responsible for me becoming a member of the Midwest Surgical Association. Dr. Prinz is not only a great doctor, but also a father of four and a successful academic surgeon. He was an extremely supportive chairman and helped advance my career in academic surgery. Additionally, his wife Lori became like a second mother to me. Eventually, I got married and also had 4 children, and she became the grandmother to them that my mom was not able to be. It seemed like everything was moving upwards. I was extremely busy, both clinically and academically. However, my success was actually working against me, as it seemed like I was always in the hospital and therefore was rarely home. It was around this time that I had another life-changing event. My dad died, and I wasn't there when he took his last breath because I was in the hospital doing an emergency operation. My current plan of being an academic GI surgical oncologist had to change. In my dad's honor, I looked at going to the hospital where he was a founding member, Gottlieb Memorial Hospital in Melrose Park. Fortuitously, they had just been purchased by Loyola, and as it turned out, Loyola was looking for a dedicated breast surgeon who would also be willing to do melanoma and sarcoma surgery. They had even purchased my dad's old office complex. More importantly, there was no general surgery call. Perfect. Loyola was closer to home by a lot, so I now had a new job. I was busy, but not even close to how busy I had been. I now had the time to go to my kids' school and after-school events, and I was frequently home for family dinners. But then I got busier. I was assigned, and more importantly, accepted more administrative roles. To top it off, I became the program director, and I got even busier, until I was ultimately at a breaking point. I was unhappy at work, I was always in a bad mood, and I was not a very nice person. So I gave up being program director and figured I would settle back down into being a great breast surgeon, but an even better father and husband. We had our successful Midwest Surgical meeting, this time in French Lick, Indiana, where I was elected president of this association, an honor that I truly cherish. I had a big trip planned with my family to celebrate my mother-in-law's birthday. I came back from the meeting, and as you all know, I worked overtime to prepare for the 10 days away. Things were looking up. I got upgraded to first class on my way back to Florida to meet with my family. On the flight, I sat next to a current Hall of Fame baseball player. We discussed fame and fortune, but more importantly, we discussed family and future. I really believed everything in my life was how it was meant to be, and I felt like I was on top of the world. Except 2 hours later, and just 5 hours before we were supposed to board our flight to the Bahamas, I was sitting in the neurointensive care unit at Morton Plant Hospital in Clearwater, Florida, with a left vertebral artery stroke. My right side was completely paralyzed. Honestly, I wasn't scared. I wasn't angry. I was in total and utter disbelief. I just could not believe that I had gone from such a high just hours before to such a profound low. I truly could not believe that this was happening to me. I had too much going for me. I had too much to look forward to. I was too young. I was too healthy. Unfortunately, it was really me lying there in that bed. I remember multiple conversations with the neurologist, either overheard from him speaking with my family or ones that I personally had with him. I kept remembering the phrase, the words, "to be determined." Will he ever walk again? That is to be determined. Will I ever operate again? That is to be determined. Will I ever be somewhat normal again? That is to be determined. I spent the next 6 days in the neurointensive care unit, determined that I would decide what was to be determined. Fortunately, I had a very smart neurologist. It may also be because of all the people praying for me, but I soon started to get my function back in my leg and arm. I was told that I was the first person that they ever saw walk in the neurointensive care unit. Trust me, it was not pretty. As I slowly began to get my hand motor function back, I asked work to send me a needle driver, and I sat there, and I twirled the needle driver in my hand constantly, just like I did when I was a resident. This wasn't pretty either. And when I go back to Florida in a couple days with my daughter, I will head back to that unit, and I will visit those nurses, and I will apologize to them for the multiple times that needle driver flew out of my hand and hit them. I fought with the doctor to be discharged home, even though looking back on it now, I'm sure I was not ready. But I was determined. I began outpatient physical, occupational, and speech therapy. I worked at my therapy when they weren't there. I did my homework. But I also had something that money could not buy. I had a full-time live-in nurse who was better than any of those nurses or therapists I was working with. And that is my wife, Erin. Together, we determined that to be determined meant that I would get better. I was determined, and I did get better. I made a full recovery, quicker and more complete than anyone expected. So is there a moral to all this, or is this just me telling you my life story? Well, maybe a little of both. I am glad I have had a plan of what I want it to be, and while there have been changes along the way, I am proud that of all that I have accomplished. So yes, some of this is bragging, but I believe there is more to learn from all of this as well. I veered from my original plan, both of my own volition as well as because of what life threw at me. I wish that my parents were still around, but it is because of them and their lives and experiences that I am a surgical oncologist and in practice at Loyola. I wish that I did not have a stroke and have to endure all that entailed. But this experience has reinforced in me what it is like to be a patient, to see what a patient sees and hears from those taking care of them. And it has reminded me of what it requires to be a caring physician, and me treating my patients how I wanted my physicians to treat me. It has also reinforced in me what is important in life. When I decided that I wanted to be an academic surgical oncologist, I went all in. I published and presented. I was co-PI of NIH-funded $1 million research grants. I participated and enrolled many patients in nationally recognized clinical trials. I mentored residents and students. But I also neglected my family and myself. Don't get me wrong. I'm not up here telling you that I am upset that I accomplished all those things. And I definitely am not up here telling you that you should not do those things. I am telling you that you should evaluate what you want to do, who you want to be, and help yourself decide what your to be determined will be. I have sat through many a presidential address where I have been told what is right and what is wrong. The bottom line is only you can choose what is best for you. You also need to be prepared for the curveballs that life will throw at you, because they are ever present and usually when you least expect them. I was, and honestly still am, extremely rigid. Some things for me are just not negotiable. You should also have things in your life that are non-negotiable. But all other things should be open for discussion. I would suggest that it is good to have a plan, but be prepared to and open to change it. Life changes. You change. The world changes. Your to be determined may not be what you expected it to be. It may not and should not be what others expect it to be. Only you know what is going to make you happy. So my parting thought to you is a quote from a Greek philosopher, Epictetus, who is from Epirus in northern Greece, the same area where my dad is from. First, say to yourself what you would be. and then do what you have to do. Your to be determined should be what you want it to be. And when you decide what that is, work hard to make it happen. Do it for your patients. Do it for your students. Do it for your family. But most importantly, do it for yourself. Thank you for allowing me to serve as your president in this past pandemic year. And thank you for indulging me and listening to my presidential address in Dave Farley's true presidential year. Dave, thank you for your very kind words. You are a true gentleman and scholar with rigid adherence to fairness and honesty. I have always enjoyed hearing you speak, whether it is scientific, social, or your presidential address last year at the Western. And I look forward to your address to our association tomorrow. Thank you to LP, the Midwest's management company, for making everything run smoothly in our association, including our, quote, meeting last year up at the Grand Hotel. Jill and Margie, standing there in the back, you are two very special people. And I know that Noni is looking down on you, smiling at all that you have accomplished. I wouldn't be up here today if it wasn't for Jeff Fabry and Richard Prins, Dr. Fabry for guiding me into the path of academic surgery and also in life, Dr. Prins for continuing that guidance and getting me to join the Midwest Surgical 21 years ago. I have not missed a meeting since. This truly is a special group of people and a special meeting with people that I could sit up here for the rest of the time mentioning their names, but really too numerous to count. I am honored that you have rewarded me with electing me as your president. And finally, I want to thank my family, my parents, William and Elaine, who I hope would be proud of what I have accomplished. My in-laws, Christopher and Georgia, who without a doubt are the best in-laws anyone could ever hope for. My children, Helena, William, Christopher, and Georgia. I truly am blessed to have the most wonderful, supportive children who I am so very proud of. And last, and clearly not least, my partner, my nurse, my rock, my friend, my wife, Erin. And I definitely wouldn't be here today if it was not for her. Thank you very much. Thank you. With that, we are adjourned for 15 minutes and head back for some more exciting talks. Thank you very much.